And coming up now on India Today, BJP's big Brahmastra in Rajya Sabha, Dr Subramanian Swamy, a no-holds-barred attack on the Congress President Sonia Gandhi. He insists it's not personal, he will prove it legally. In conversation with Karan Thapar.
Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. There's no doubt that the big story this week is the AgustaWestland controversy. Yesterday, the Rajya Sabha spent 5 hours debating and discussing the issue, and for many, the key speaker was Subramanian Swamy. Now, for Dr. Swamy, bang in the middle of his sights is the Congress party, and bang in the middle of that is Sonia Gandhi. Today, in his first interview after that Rajya Sabha performance, he's agreed to speak about his Rajya Sabha speech, the points he made, and most importantly, why he believes Sonia Gandhi should be considered the key accused. Dr. Swamy, let me start with a simple question. Everyone accepts that AgustaWestland paid bribes. Many of the recipients of those bribes were Indian. But when you specifically and directly target Sonia Gandhi by name, you're doing so on the basis of prejudice, not proof.
Well, I've heard this before also when your channel interviewed me on National Herald, and now she's on bail on that case.
But not guilty, and you haven't proven it.
Well, see, I can have an opinion that she's guilty, but the process of proving it to your satisfaction, I have to go through the legal process.
That's the point I'm making. Your opinion is based on prejudice, not proof. This is personal. It's a vendetta.
The problem is you have got prejudice. The fact of the matter is that I will not take up a case unless I am satisfied that the person is guilty. And therefore, there is a process you have to go through, because they have also a right to challenge it, go up all the way to the Supreme Court on interlocutory applications. So that takes time. But I can have an opinion formed that I could do it.
Let me tell you why I consider your opinion prejudice rather than one based on proof. At least in 2 interviews, the Italian judge who's the head of the Milan Court of Appeals, Justice Maiga, has said, A, there is no direct evidence connecting Sonia Gandhi to the taking of bribes, and more importantly, when Times Now asked him, and this was the question, do you have any evidence to merit a probe against Indian officials beyond the Tyagi brothers? His answer was a short, sharp, crisp, absolutely not.
Yes.
Are you telling me that you know more than Justice Maiga?
No, I'm telling you that you are truncating what he said. And this is one of your weaknesses, I think, and all your journalists. What he said is that this is not a central question before me. They're Indians. I can't take interest. So nothing came before me. I have no evidence.
But when he was asked specifically, do you have any evidence to merit a probe against anyone other than the Tyagis, he said absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. He cannot probe Indians.
Not just for reasons of propriety,
yes,
also because he has no evidence to warrant doing so.
Well, that is your surmise.
All right. You said...
Now,
Sorry,
the question is, you are asking me questions which I didn't, on matters which I didn't even say. What I said, if you see my speech, is that she is now a suspect. She knows something. There has been a crime committed. It's been admitted by our own former defense minister that yes, and the Italians have said yes, their bribes been paid. Now the process begins by questioning people, and she should be questioned.
The problem is, it's not just the Italian judge, Justice Maiga, who says there's no evidence to link her to corruption directly or even indirectly. The same point was made, according to the Times of India, by Arun Jaitley in Frankfurt yesterday. This is what Mr. Jaitley said, I'm quoting. It's only when substantive evidence comes out that there will be reason to believe who has taken the money. This clearly means there are no reasons today to believe Sonia Gandhi has taken the money.
Well, that you'll have to question him. You see, I have my own way. I never asked him about National Herald either. In National Herald also he said at one stage that if they pay back the money that they spent on this transaction, everything will be over. That's rubbish. The fact of the matter is that it is my opinion, and I express my opinion.
Except the person who's giving a different opinion to yours is not just an ordinary individual. He's a member of a party. He's the finance minister. He's a leading lawyer. He is in fact a former law minister. Surely Arun Jaitley knows what he's talking about. And when he says Only when substantive evidence comes out will there be reason to believe who has taken the money. He's clearly saying there is no reason to
You
believe
should add
she's
one
taken
more
it.
qualification, that he is also your friend. Okay. Now,
Well,
let me,
whether he is or
wait a
isn't
minute.
my friend is
Wait a
irrelevant,
minute.
but you're doing that to give him a bad name. You're doing that to give him a bad name.
Now, you want to. I know he's your friend, so you're quoting him. You said he's a former law minister, so am I a former law minister. He said he's a finance minister. I've held the commerce portfolio. I have been a member of parliament, and of that, 3 of them is directly elected. These are not issues that you should raise now. The issue is that I have evaluated the evidence. I have a track record of not being wrong so far, and I am telling you that she is guilty in this matter.
Let's then come to the evidence which you allege you've evaluated. It comes from the Italian judgment, and it is centrally linked to the letter written by Christian Michel on the 15th of March 2008.
Wrong.
In fact,
wrong.
4 days ago you wanted to cite that letter in Parliament, and as soon as you mentioned it, you were stopped. The House stopped functioning. They wouldn't let you cite it. What that letter does is it has Christian Michel describing her A as the driving force, and B saying that the British ambassador should target her and her close colleagues. But that, I put it to you, is nothing but a legitimate act of lobbying. It is not suggestion of, leave aside proof of bribery.
The problem with you is you don't know the law, and you don't know what legal points I'd argued. Let me explain to you and educate you. All right. I quoted that letter only because Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad quoted him as having said that Narendra Modi had a talk with the Italian Prime Minister to come to a deal. So I said, if you read it, you haven't read the parliamentary proceedings, with the unexpunged parliamentary proceedings, and of course the expunged part is wrongly done. That's another proceedings. What I said is that I am touched by your faith in Mr. Christian Michel.
Quite right.
And that since you are quoting him, let me quote what Christian Michel said in a letter which is included in the judgment of
that letter doesn't in any way establish any connection to bribery.
Wait a minute. First thing, you are wrong when you said you relied on that letter. I relied on that letter only because Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad quoted his name. Now I'll tell you what the letter said. The letter said that she is the driving force behind this deal.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, wait a minute. Now that means she knows something about the deal. If she is the driving force,
it doesn't mean that she is connected to bribery and corruption.
Why don't you just listen? You don't know the law. I'm educating you about the law. If she knows that there's something about the deal, and that deal is a crime, therefore she must be questioned. That is what I said in Parliament.
But questioned in what connection? Presumably, you're suggesting in connection with taking bribes. That's the implication, even if you won't spell it out.
I am sorry, then again you don't know the law. Please read chapter 12 of the CRPC. Whenever a crime is committed and a case is registered, it is a duty of the police, in this case the CBI, to make a list of people who might...
So by your logic, you would be questioning the British ambassador as well?
I cannot have jurisdiction to question the British ambassador.
But you would want to. But you would want to. That's the bizarre outcome of your position.
No, there's no bizarre thing. You don't understand the law and you go on saying this. I told you that I assume that she is a citizen of India even today.
You don't have to assume it, it's a fact.
Well, I know you can speak on her behalf, I can't, because her name is different from in her birth certificate and what she uses.
Let's come back to what we're talking about.
So therefore you don't divert it. The fact of the matter is that it is the duty of the police to question all those whom they think have some knowledge about the matter.
Okay, you're saying I have no knowledge of the law. Let me quote Justice Micah, who was asked this question about how he evaluates Christian Michel's letter. This is the answer he gave NDTV yesterday. For us, it is a document of low importance, something of color or ambiance, no concrete evidence at all. He thinks it's of no value at all.
Absolutely. For his investigation, it has no value because it is about Sonia Gandhi and contacting her advisors, and that is of no value. The issue today is, I never said in Parliament, I may have said anything outside, but as far as Parliament, because you are talking about my Parliament speech, let's have it recorded. that I only said that she should be interrogated.
Okay. You're relying, whether you say it upfront or whether you do it by implication, on something that Christian Michel
No
has
implication.
Okay, he said it upfront, you're saying it upfront too.
What?
But you're
What
relying...
he said?
No,
he only said that
he's the driving force. Absolutely.
Therefore she knows something.
And that for you has become the basis for questioning her and
Yeah,
investigating.
that's
So
right.
you're relying on Christian Michel.
I am not.
Well, you are.
I am not.
You're relying on her phrase, driving force.
Why, is this an interview of yourself or myself? I am asking you, telling you, there are at least 4 major references to her in the judgment.
Only 4.
Only 4? She is totally irrelevant to that case. And there are still the 4 references.
Can I come back to my question? Because she's described as the driving force by Christian Michel, you believe there is a basis for questioning?
No, that is not the only basis.
But it is part of it.
I again told you that Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad raised the name.
Absolutely.
That's I brought it.
But can I finish my question?
Yes.
I was going on to say that in one instance you're using a phrase that Christian Michel has used in this letter to prepare the grounds for questioning her. What about the fact that the same Christian Michel, in an interview, let me finish.
Yes.
In an interview on the 27th of April to the Hindu, to your daughter Suhashini in fact,
Yes.
when asked, said, he is absolutely sure the Gandhis took no money. And when Suhashini, your daughter, said, how can you be sure? He replied, because I was there. Now, if you rely on him in one instance, why disregard what he says in the other?
I think you're dense or you're deliberately doing this. I told you from beginning Christian Michel was used as an indication because Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad relied on it.
But you also said that the phrase driving force prepares the grounds for questioning her.
Don't interrupt me. I said this. I, in the parliament, said there are 4 places where her name figures. It is clear that she had knowledge about this, and the aircraft, that decision in that government of Manmohan Singh could not be, of course, taken without her concurrence. I even said Mr. Manmohan Singh is a good man, but he has
all of that I accept, but I'm going back to something you said crystal clearly, and when you hear this interview on transmission, you will discover I'm right, that
no,
you said it.
You're right.
You said,
don't be a joke.
you said one of the grounds for questioning her was the fact that she was described by Michel as the driving force. Right? And you added from that the driving force means she knew about the deal. You built that case up yourself. Now,
you don't know the law of evidence.
No, I'm saying to you that if you rely on Christian Michel in one instance, why disregard what he says to your own daughter?
Let me say it for the last time, because you seem to be dense. I am telling you that forms a part of the judgment. Now Mr. Christian Michel is sweating. He may say anything he likes. This plus other evidence, plus my knowledge of how the government of Manmohan Singh worked, I think this lady must be questioned.
Precisely. Your words are this plus other evidence means this is the reason for questioning her as well as other things.
Because it's part of the judgment.
Maybe, but I'm saying when Christian Michel says something contrary to your daughter, why don't you bear that in mind as well?
I will not take any post-judgment statement.
Because it doesn't suit you.
Whether it is my daughter or my granddaughter or
because
it is you.
Because it doesn't suit you.
No.
Because it contradicts what you're trying to do.
It doesn't suit you to have the opposite view. After all, we know you have biases too.
Let me come to something else. What do you make of the fact that the same Christian Michel yesterday to our channel India Today has said that he's under enormous pressure from Indian investigating agencies to incriminate the Gandhis in return for having the charges dropped against him? He said that bluntly, and by the way, he's written formally to the President of the International Tribunal on the Law of the Sea to make precisely the same point.
Let him say it to a court of law. Why should he say it?
Well, he said it to something that is close to a court of law. He's written to the President of the International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea. That is close to a court of law.
President of the International has no locus here.
Well, hang on a second. I want to quote to you. You're laughing because you don't want to consider ITLOS as a formal
I am laughing
court.
at your ignorance.
But the point is, the Indian government at the moment has accepted it's a court. The Marines case is being handled there. We've accepted that their jurisdiction. So in the eyes of the government, it is a court, even if it's not a court in your eyes.
Please don't shift the ground. This has got nothing to do with that court. That court or international court is got to do with an arbitration, which both of us went to that court. This is, as far as the Milan court is concerned,
can I quote,
it had nothing to do.
Can I quote what Christian Michel on the 23rd of December last year wrote to the President of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea? It was made very clear to me through a number of obtuse channels, if I was willing to denounce any member of the Gandhi family relating to the so-called VVIP helicopter scandal, all charges and investigations against me would be dropped. And by the way, when he wrote to the Prime Minister in November last year, he refers to something similar as well.
Who?
Christian Michel.
No, not Christian Michel.
This is Christian Michel writing
Who told him that we will settle?
He doesn't reveal.
Ah, that's
doesn't
right.
reveal.
That's right. And you believe him. That is what I'm saying. You are complicit in
But
this.
you are prepared to build part of a case on his
again
language
you're back
driving
to
force.
the back. Either you're dense, I told you, or you're doing it deliberate. I said Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad mentioned him as evidence of what the Prime Minister said.
But you
And
also went on to say that that was part of the reason, the word driving force, why she should be questioned.
it is because it is in that particular letter is in the judgment.
Can I point out something else to you?
Yeah.
The same Mr. Michel, in an interview to your daughter, published this time by the Hindu,
Again you're back to my daughter.
No, because she's a very important journalist who got
So
the interview.
what? I brought her up. I know it.
Therefore,
your parents didn't bring you up
therefore
properly.
take credit for what she's revealed, even if it contradicts your position.
I'm sorry, I can't disclose what she told me altogether. I will tell you it's irrelevant.
But
what she told him. I only go by what he told, what letter he placed before the court, or what was placed.
Let me point this out. He has also said to the Hindu that the Indian Prime Minister and the Italian Prime Minister in September last year had a brush-aside meeting at the UN where the Indian Prime Minister proposed a deal. That if you give us incriminating evidence against the Gandhis, we will let off the Marines. And since then, one of the Marines has been asked by the Italians to be sent back. That is a matter now coming in front of the Supreme Court. Is there a connection? You make many such connections. I asked you.
I am not making any connection. Don't put words in my mouth. I have got a track record, unlike you, of taking everything to its logical conclusion. In this particular case, Christian Michel's only factor I took into account was what was placed in the judgment. Since it was a document in the judgment, I quoted from it because Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad raised it. I am saying that based on the CAG report and the changes made and my knowledge of how the Manmohan Singh government worked, she is a person who has to be examined.
I'm making a different point altogether. I'm saying, could the meeting that allegedly happened between the two prime ministers at the UN...
According to whom?
According to Christian Michel.
Oh,
could the possibility that in fact there is a link between that meeting and the request from the ITLOS court that the Italian Marine now be released, could that link up to the possibility that in fact Michel himself is under pressure from Indian agencies to incriminate the Gandhis? Are these dots linking up to suggest that you're putting pressure on Michel to incriminate the Gandhis?
You like to hear your own voice, it looks like.
Is this an attempt to get at Sonia any which way?
I've already got her in National Herald, despite all the rubbish you
got her. You think you've got her. Her lawyers say the opposite. They are confident you have.
Their lawyers are saying, and you will also say, because you are our advocate too.
The judge judge hasn't ruled. Be fair. The judge hasn't ruled.
Now, you don't understand the law. Let me educate you. She has been found prima facie guilty of the charges I made. Now the charges have to be framed, and the trial has to start.
I don't know what you mean by prima facie guilty.
I know you don't. You are an illiterate as far as law is concerned.
That doesn't mean prima facie guilty. A case to be heard doesn't mean prima facie guilty.
What is the reason for her to take bail?
That there is a case to be heard, not that she's guilty.
Oh, come on.
Bail is part of the procedures.
Oh, really?
Of course
bail is a part of the procedure. Oh, my really.
Every time a case is heard doesn't mean you're guilty.
I know your Anglo-Saxon education has poorly educated you about Indian law.
But let's come back to this.
All right, let's get back.
Are you trying to get at Sonia, and is your government trying to get at Sonia any which way?
First of all, if Mr. Christian Michel says something which is pleasing to you, ask him to put it on an affidavit. Then I will take it seriously. Otherwise, like you journalists, he can also say all kinds of rubbish. He can do, after all, he's an arms middleman. He's lived a life of lies. He can say anything.
Can we come back to Sonia?
No, let me finish.
What is the case that you have that convinces you, maybe not the rest of the world, but you, that she is actually guilty of some form of corruption in the AgustaWestland?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you.
You're not going to tell me?
No, because I don't trust you.
What do you mean don't trust me? Who am I going to tell?
You are not a person to be trusted with what I know. I said the same thing to you and National Herald, or you have forgotten.
But tell me something. Are you scared I will reveal your secrets?
No, I am not scared of you. You're nobody. I have fought much stronger people.
Can I put
don't
something
say, give yourself saying I'm scared of you.
You're smiling and your eyes in particular are twinkling, and I know from the past that when your eyes twinkle, you're only being mischievous. You don't mean what you say. But the audience will say that the reason he refuses to share his evidence is not because he doesn't trust Karan, is because he doesn't have any.
What audience?
The audience listening to this interview.
They will all tweet and you'll see.
They'll say he doesn't have the evidence.
Things about
He's simply targeting Sonia.
Oh, yeah. Only a handful of people who go around in your cocktail parties. You just see your Twitter and be honest to put it on the TV.
But if you have evidence to suggest she's linked to corruption, why can't you tell us?
I will not tell you because I don't trust you. I'm telling you frankly. I don't trust most journalists who belong to this Anglo-Saxon stock, because we know what your inclinations are. And therefore, I have told you what I have put on record. And you have tried to twist that. I've put it straight. As far as her guilt, I will tell you on this channel, she is guilty as hell.
I have to tell you that at the moment she's completely innocent. You have to prove it. And if you won't show the evidence that you claim you have, most people will say you don't have it.
There is no most people. The only way to test it is the social media. And you see what they say about you.
That doesn't matter. The social media is
media doesn't matter.
Social media is
only
not final, and the social
matters.
media is not the final authority.
Who is the final authority?
The judges.
The circle you move in.
The judges.
Certainly, absolutely. That's why I'm saying, please go through the due process, call her, question her, and then find out whether she's told the truth.
All right, Dr. Swamy, let's take a break at that point. When I come back, I'm going to stop talking about why you believe Sonia Gandhi should be the key accused in AgustaWestland. Instead, I'm going to turn to the arguments you made, the case you made in your speech in the Rajya Sabha, and ask you, how confident are you of the position you took? Or if questioned, could it start to crumble? We'll be back in a moment's time for the second part of this interview. Stick with us, because I can assure you, Dr. Swamy's anger is by no means finished. Welcome back. You're watching To The Point, and an exclusive interview with Subramanian Swamy, his first after his magnificent performance in the Rajya Sabha in the AgustaWestland debate yesterday. Dr. Swamy, let's come to the case you attempted to make in your speech in the Rajya Sabha yesterday. And first, the decision to reduce the altitude from 6,000 meters to 4,500. Now, that decision was first recommended in November 2003 by Brijesh Mishra, Atal Bihari Vajpayee's National Security Advisor and Principal Secretary. The UPA simply stuck and followed that advice. How then can you accuse the UPA of this when they're following something that happened in Mr. Vajpayee's time? You're completely ignoring and overlooking that.
See, you have not been in government, so you don't know how governments work. Mr. Brijesh Mishra, he was a bureaucrat. And he had said to the Ministry of Defence that this is something that they can consider. But the letter that went to the Ministry of Defence has only two criteria. There is no mention of 4,500 feet at all. It is true that in a meeting in November 2003, he said, why don't you consider this? And that was minuted. And it is not binding, it is not a governmental decision. And Congress decorated Brijesh Mishra with the highest possible award below.
What are you suggesting when you say
I am suggesting that he was what is it called, a bug for the Congress.
A bug for the Congress?
Yes.
A cat's paw for Congress?
That's right.
You're really suggesting
I
he
am
was a Trojan
telling you
horse?
that, yes, Trojan horse.
You're being unfair to a man who's
that is your concept of fair and unfair. I've given you my opinion.
In other words, you're saying that Brijesh Mishra, even as NSA for
Vajpayee, for the Congress party. I'm telling you that.
You really mean that?
What do you mean really mean? I only mean what I say, not like you. Okay, I'm telling you what I mean, and I've said what I mean.
A fifth columnist almost.
He was a Trojan horse.
And worked for the Congress party.
That's right.
And therefore this recommendation to drop the height
I'm not going
was all part of a plan.
No, don't twist it. I said that it was a bureaucratic opinion. It was not taken on board the Ministry of Defence.
Okay.
It was in November 2013, very soon afterwards the elections came. The letter that went originally was that SPG should be consulted and that the single vendor thing should be avoided.
Let's come to a much bigger point you made in your speech yesterday in the Rajya Sabha, and that is to do with the decision to fix the cabinet height at 1.8. meters. You made that point. Even more importantly, the defense minister made the point, and both of you argued that this effectively had reduced this to a single vendor situation, and both of you relied extensively on the CAG report to back up your argument. The problem is, when you look at the CAG report...
No, there's no argument on the CAG argument.
Can I
Yeah, please
finish?
go ahead.
When you look at the CAG report, what it says is something significantly different. The CAG says that the Ministry of Defence insisted that there were 6 other original equipment manufacturers who could produce helicopters with a 1.8 meter height, if not more. The CAG then says that it inquired into one of them and it couldn't, but that still leaves 5 more who could. How the CAG then comes to the conclusion that this had become a single vendor situation is opaque. It's actually unexplained. Probably the CAG has made a leap of faith without explaining how it's done it. Their conclusion that this therefore became a single vendor situation is questionable, if not unreliable. Yet you're relying on it.
Listen, your problem is your knowledge is all half-baked. I read out a question which was in the Rajya Sabha, which Mr. Anthony answered. Please go to see my speech, text of my speech. I quoted the number of it. It was somewhere in 2013. The question was, is it a fact that the Indian Air Force had said that the 6,000 meter
we're around 1.8 meter cabinet height now.
All right. No, I'm telling you first what I'm telling you about the CAG. 6,000 meter is an inescapable requirement. And Anthony answers, yes, sir. Now, second, the papers, not of CAG, the government papers itself show that the cabin height size was arbitrarily changed without anybody asking for it.
That's another matter.
Yeah.
The point that you were making is not that it was changed arbitrarily. The point you were making that as a result of the change, it became a single vendor situation.
Yeah.
And let me finish. The CAG report itself says that the Ministry of Defence insisted that there were 6 other QEMs.
Yes. Why didn't they
include the report?
Why weren't they included?
The CAG then, let me finish. The CAG then goes on to say that one of those QEMs was inquired into and it couldn't do it, which leaves 5 that could.
Yes.
If 5 could, how can the CAG at all come to the conclusion that a single vendor situation has been created? The CAG's conclusion is wrong. No. The defence minister is relying on it, and therefore the defence minister ends up being wrong.
Well, you may argue this in a court in Pakistan, but not in India. I'm telling you. I'm telling you this. This is then, if you are going, if the accused will have their lawyers, they can argue this, and at that time the evidence will be shown that the only helicopter which has a 1.8 meters cabin height is the Westland.
All right, I'm just simply putting down for record that the CAG report itself says that the Ministry of Defence said there were 6 other QEMs.
They may have said, the Defence Ministry may have said, but they didn't include it in the list. Why?
Let's come. I don't know the answer to that. But what I'm saying to you is that your conclusion that therefore it became single vendor is questionable. It's questionable.
Yeah. For you, everything I say is questionable. I am saying I have made my inquiries. Okay. There is only one helicopter which is making a 1.8, and that is...
Let's come to a third point you made in the Rajya Sabha. You said that in fact the field evaluation trial had been done overseas. You said that that was wrong, unorthodox and against the rules. You overlooked the fact that the NDA under Mr. Vajpayee tweaked the rules to permit this. And secondly, the Embraer, which was bought under Mr. Vajpayee, had its evaluation done overseas. That was a Brazilian plane bought by Mr. Vajpayee. Its evaluation was done overseas, and so the rule was changed by Vajpayee. The precedent was set by Vajpayee.
Please read my speech.
I heard your speech.
No, I'm sorry you didn't.
I did.
Then you better check a doctor for your ears. The fact is, I said I don't care where it was tested. What I objected to is, instead of the plane that you are, helicopter that you are buying that was being tested, they took another surrogate model.
I will come to that. I was building up to it. Actually, the words you
lost this.
No, forgive me. I haven't lost it. I haven't lost it. I'm saying to you that in fact the decision to permit testing abroad was Mr. Vajpayee's.
So what?
Mr. Vajpayee did it with the Embraer, and if Mr. Vajpayee can set a precedent, UPA can follow it.
So what?
But let's come to your point about the testing of the plane. Actually, the words you used in the Rajya Sabha, not that it was a surrogate. You said the wrong plane was tested. You
Yes.
used the word wrong.
It is on the wrong plane.
Forgive me.
Surrogate is the wrong plane.
Forgive me, the defense minister used a very different word.
Yes.
He said a representative plane was used.
Yes.
A representative plane is not wrong. A representative plane is one that represents the plane properly and accurately and
Rubbish.
sufficiently. He used the word
The mock-up
representative.
cabinet, what are you
He
talking
used the
about?
word representative.
He may have used a different word.
He didn't say wrong.
No, don't be silly. This
He
is
didn't say
I
wrong.
can't believe this.
Language is
The
important.
man of- oh, really?
This is not,
Language
this
is very
is not
important.
Humpty Dumpty
What
saying
we have
I use words to mean what I want them to mean.
No. I don't. You see, this is not St. Stephen's debating club, okay? We are dealing with evidence. And the evidence, when the time comes for presenting evidence, what was the model used? It has to be put before what the aeroplane you purchased.
Except that the defense minister didn't use the word wrong.
So
He
what?
used representative.
So what?
And representative means a plane that represents another.
No,
adequately,
come on
sufficiently,
now.
And in every material.
Why didn't you use the original plane? Why didn't you use the AW101?
Because it was under construction at the time.
That is the point.
That is.
That is the key
It's
point.
known.
That is the key.
It's known.
Then
But a
you should have waited.
representative plane was
What
used.
was your hurry?
A representative plane was used,
No,
not the wrong plane.
that was because you were in a hurry to close the deal.
Why did the defense minister use a different language? And remember, he was reading a scripted written
Because
text
I didn't
written
write
by
his
bureaucrats.
script.
That's right. His bureaucrats disagree with you. That's the
They
point I'm
don't
making.
disagree with me. They use a different word, English language. I don't know where you were taught English language. This is the Babu English that you have, that this word and this word. There is a certain flexibility in the use of words. They are antonyms, synonyms.
These are not
something
antonyms. Wrong and representative are not antonyms.
That may be your view. I don't know which Anglo culture you are coming from. Whatever I was educated, I don't see any difference between representative and a different plane.
Listen, if something is representative of something, it can't be wrong. That's the simple point I'm making.
I don't agree with this interpretation.
Right.
This is your wrong.
Let's come to something else.
Yeah.
Yesterday, the defense minister, at the conclusion of his speech, said that an invisible hand was guiding the investigations by the ED and CBI, as a result of which those investigations had led nowhere. I want to ask you a similar question. Whose invisible hand has ensured that under the NDA, the government deliberately and consciously refused to appeal against the acquittal of Orsi and Spagnolini? After all, the Indian government under UPA was part of the prosecution at the trial stage. The second Mr. Modi came in and there was need for an appeal, Mr. Modi and his government opted out of the appeal. Whose invisible hand ensured that?
At last we have something to agree on. Yes, it should be investigated. Who was behind it?
Well, who do you think?
I know who
But
did
please
it.
tell me.
I can't.
Tell the audience, don't tell
The
me.
next thing you'll ask me, what proof do you have?
I won't.
No,
I won't.
I don't trust you.
I won't.
I don't trust you.
Check and see.
No.
The fact that you're revealing your suspicions in a matter where the finger points at what must be your colleagues in government clearly means that you must be accurate, and I won't question you further.
No, don't question me further, but I'm not going to tell you anything more than that this should be investigated.
So this is a lapse on the part of the Modi
Not
government?
lapse. It was a complicity.
Complicity?
Yes. To see that this doesn't go any further.
In other words, you're saying to me that there was someone in the Modi government who
I
was
didn't say Modi government. Now don't put words
someone
in
in
my
the government?
No, not someone in
Then
the government.
who?
Then somebody.
For who? If not
I
the
won't
government?
say. Why did you go? I'm not going to tell you.
I'll tell you why it has to be government, because a former letter... Can I finish?
Yeah.
A former letter was sent by the Indian embassy in Rome to the court at Bustio Assisio, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, to say that India wouldn't be part of the appeal. Now, a letter from the embassy can't be sent if it's not being sent from the government.
Yes, of course, it was sent by the government, but the government could be misled.
By whom?
I will tell you later.
Are you suggesting the Attorney General?
I will not suggest anybody.
But who else will mislead the government?
I will not tell you. You can go on cross-examining like a second-rate criminal lawyer.
You were very suspicious when I referred to the fact that Arun Jaitley had interpreted the evidence against Sonia differently to you.
Yeah.
You dismissed him by calling him my friend. Are you suggesting by possible hint and implication that the decision not to appeal is because of Arun Jaitley's advice? I'm asking you up front. I'm asking you up front.
You are asking me up front. I've heard of fishing expedition, but this is the most outrageous fishing expedition I've ever come across. You're not going to get a word out of me on this.
But you accept that this is an indication of complicity. And it's an indication of complicity. In fact, proof of complicity.
Yes. Somebody was trying to protect Sonia.
And this would have to be someone senior.
I don't know who it is. There is somebody. It should be investigated.
All right. Let's come briefly in the time left to us to your attempt in the Rajya Sabha yesterday to interpret the initials AP as if they were Ahmed Patel. Abhishek Singhvi said that when the prosecutor in Italy was asked if he recognized AP and knew who AP stood for, said no, he didn't. Secondly, it's also apparent from the judgment that the connection or identification was done by a Google search. So what sort of evidence is that? You're a lawyer. You know that this is laughable.
I'm a lawyer and I know you're not one. And you don't even know the law, that also I know.
But answer my question.
I will answer your question, because then you shouldn't have said you're a lawyer, you should know this. I'm telling you, you're an illiterate as far as this is concerned, so you won't know it. See the interview given to one of your rival television channels by the judge, who says in that AP is Ahmed Patel.
I'm so glad you're referring to the judge, because actually I will quote to you the interview the judge gave NDTV yesterday. He said, at best, the initials AP were an indication. He then added there was no conclusion.
Absolutely.
In fact, there was no certainty.
That's
it was a guess.
That is why I say he should be examined.
But hang on a second. A moment ago, you made it seem from what you said that in fact the judge had said in an interview AP stands for Ahmed Patel. It doesn't. The judge said it's at best an indication.
I am telling you that is a possibility which has to be investigated.
A wild possibility.
It can't be anybody else.
Oh, it can be. It could have been, for instance, as the joke was made by Abhishek Singhvi, the Chief Minister of Gujarat.
And you don't know what joke I made. I said the Italians must be madder than I thought, that they would trust Anandi Ben to get them the contract.
We have no idea who AP is, and once again
therefore we must ask Mr. Ahmed Patel, what is your connection?
Finally, let's come to Dr. Manmohan Singh. All you have in the case of Dr. Manmohan Singh is a handwritten note by Giuseppe Orsi dating back to July 2013, written from jail, and Giuseppe Orsi writes, and I'm going to quote, call Monty or Ambassador Terracciano in my name to ask him to call PM Singh. That's nothing more than a desperate plea by a desperate man for help. It's not proof or even an indication of impropriety. Leave aside corruption and bribery.
It is something. First of all, I have very high regard for Manmohan Singh, and I've always stood up for him in 2G, even though he cracked up after his initially correct reaction. He then got an order from above, and he melted. The fact of the matter is that something has been raised. It is part of the judgment. There is no harm in going to his Manmohan Singh's house and asking him a question, that did you delay this supply of documents? That has now been repeatedly told by the judges, and it's there in the judgment, that except some downloadable items, nothing else came.
One question. From the way you phrase that answer, there's no harm in going to his house to ask him a simple question.
Not harm, it's a duty.
Well, hang on a moment, I'm repeating your words.
Yeah.
There's no harm in going to his house to ask him a simple question.
Yes.
It seems to me from the tone and the language you've used that he's not a suspect in your eyes, you're simply fulfilling a procedure.
Yes, he's not at the moment a suspect in my eyes.
You treat him therefore at a different level to Sonia Gandhi?
Yes, and to also Anthony. Anthony also is a suspect, is not a suspect.
Is Ahmed Patel in the Manmohan Singh category or the Sonia category?
Ahmed Patel and Sonia Gandhi are not two different political persons.
They are both suspects.
Yes.
Anthony and Manmohan Singh are not suspects.
That's right.
But procedure requires their question.
That's right.
Let me end by putting this to you, and I'm going to go right back to the issue and the question I began with. Everyone accepts today that AgustaWestland paid bribes. Most people are readily willing to accept that some people in India accepted them.
Not most, the Minister of Defence himself,
but
on the floor of Parliament.
But when Subramanian Swamy seems to try and insist that the people who accepted bribes were Sonia Gandhi and Ahmed Patel, I put it to you, to use your phrase, this is not just a fishing expedition, this is deep-sea diving.
In my opinion, you have no credibility in the public when you make an allegation. Whereas when I make an allegation, because of my track record, people believe what I say.
All right, Dr. Swamy, you're patting yourself on the back. You have every right to do so. A pleasure talking to you, and I'm also delighted you're laughing and smiling.
Okay, bye.